Hello everyone. Symbiosis Center for Information Technology welcomes you all to the ninth episode of On Air with Adcom. Today we have with us Mr. Deric Karunesudas, who's based out of Singapore. He is a corporate cybersecurity leader and an active startup mentor and angel investor with 16 years plus experience in cybersecurity. He has worked with companies like Deloitte, Wipro, RSC and British Telecom's Splunk and is an official mentor to IIT Bombay School of Entrepreneurship. He's also had a TEDx talk in September 2020 which talks about cybercrime and world of hackers. Having worked in various geographies like US, Europe, APAC and Middle East, he understands various cybersecurity economies and cultures. He's a mentor and investor in 20 plus startups till date, and his investment thesis revolves around tech-driven startups with a scalability factor which genuinely focuses on solving a problem and also believes in engaging at a very early stage. Mr. Deric believes in the philosophy of enjoying other people's success and enjoys working with startups to fuel their growth story. It's a pleasure to have you on board, sir. How are things at your end?
Hey, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And it's always a pleasure coming back to university and talking to students. Thank you.
That's great to hear, sir. So, how has your journey been after your MBA from Symbiosis till now?
So, my journey after MBA started with Deloitte, doing risk management and cybersecurity consulting. And I've been only traveling globally, literally living out of airports. And having worked in the US, Europe, Middle East, and now it's been like 5 years here in Singapore taking care of the APAC region. Uh, Having spent more than 16 years now, touched almost all the roles in cybersecurity with consulting, sales, pre-sales, security architecture. Um, and I'm absolutely passionate about the cybersecurity field now. It's been an exciting ride for sure. And recently, my TED talk on cybersecurity and cybercrime summarizes my philosophy in this field, right? Having said that, during the journey after my business school, I realized three things. One, your first job almost defines you most of the time. Yeah. Second, salaries will not make you rich or wealthy. And three, power of compounding is magical. Right? Uh, so one of the incident that had an enormous impact on my thinking was when I went to Boston a few years back for work, and I was talking to some students in Harvard University. And after having some long chats, I realized that most of the students who come out of Harvard come out with 200K debt, right? And all these were an eye opener for me, made me think about the education system and how programmed we all are, and simply spend like 35 years of our life almost paying back debt, right? In fact, my joke is if you remove campus placement from most of the MBA schools, 90% of the B schools will shut down, right? Or for that matter, on a lighter note, if you don't allow photography for your holidays, would you still go for holidays, right? So, long story short, was really keen to get closer into the startup world. Desperately wanted to explore that space, right? Either from inside or outside. And the best way was to angel invest. So did that for a while, and was hooked into many startup e-cells globally in colleges and universities while I used to travel in every country. And whenever I used to travel back to India, was always involved with IIT Bombay, and could become the mentor to the e-cell, and could be very closely, could work with the startup world. Um, so one common denominator between the cyber and the startup space I could find was the element called risk, right? In cyber world, I always assess and mitigate the risk, right? In startup, it's all about managing the risk. So the venture capital folks and the founders are in the business of managing risks too, right? And that's what excites me, and that's where I add a lot of value, right? So I feel a career should be like a T-shaped uh, uh, game. Anchor one with one subject in depth and experiment with breadth in the others. And finding that intersection between what you're really good at and what you really enjoy is the journey. Uh, and that's the journey we should keep pursuing. Um, and It's like, saying I might be really good at cyber world, but do I really enjoy that space? Or I might be enjoying mentoring startups, right? So that's the intersection. Um, so treat your career like a VC fund. Open many revenue channels with hunch that one will go big and become a unicorn.
So now that you are a global cybersecurity leader and also mentoring and investing in startups, what excites you more and what both really mean to you?
Hmm. This job versus startup debate is really interesting. Um, Today, parents in India at least feel okay if the wannabe groom is an entrepreneur. Thanks to Shark Tank also. Uh, so let's talk cyber first, right? It's a 200 billion market and growing exponentially with a CAGR of 18%. Uh, Here in Asia Pacific region, it's the largest region after Europe and US. So fairly big market, and especially after COVID, it has only accelerated the cyberspace. A lot of threat landscape increasing, right? And that's what I talked about the T-shaped career, right? My anchor is always cyber, and there's another way of looking at it, right? As being a generalist versus specialist. Um, uh, so startups are built by generalists and scaled by specialists, right? So talking about startup space, I still remember, guys, in 2011, I was in Dubai doing a project, and I remember the first unicorn in India was announced in movie, right? And while I was watching the World Cup and the Dhoni shot, and there was no VC culture much in India back then, right? The funding platforms were not that popular. So just to give you some numbers, right? Today in 2022, India has more than 105 unicorns. By the way, US has 650 plus. China has more than 300. We are the third. Uh, Especially after actually in 2015, after Geo came, social media exploded in India and many startups actually warmed up. Uh, back in 2015, we had almost 100 startups. And today, in 2022, we have more than 80,000 startups, right? Imagine the scale. It's the best time to start a startup in India for sure. Uh, Having said that, the ecosystem has to be complete, right? We need more investor ecosystem for the startups to flourish. The ratio of startup to investors is much better in China than India, right? So that's a good opportunity for most of the funds to enter India, right? And I've seen this journey very closely. Of course, COVID has accelerated the tech adoption and digital payments and e-commerce boom, um, which was the turning point, right? So, for both of these, we need to understand that startup is a 24/7 job, right? It's a lonely journey. When you talk to founders, you realize it, right? And that's why I feel schools and universities should teach you to be producers and not consumers, right? Job creation has a larger impact, and that's what excites me, right? Um, So what do I get from both these worlds? Overall, I love the startup space, right? I love what it does, right? I love the pace, the velocity, and the control over the outcome and the impact it has on the economy. Whereas in the corporate world, it's a slow journey with more hierarchy and process. Of course, there are pros and cons in both. You got to choose what you like, right? And you'll always get what you settle for, right? As a person, I love speed. Velocity is my thing, and hence I do my mentorship and spend time with the startups on weekends, right? Uh, and that's why I learned so many from various industries like edtech, fintech, health tech, space tech, and yeah, that's what excites me.
Talking of startups, which field excites you more? And how do you invest or mentor startups? And what's your criteria?
Hmm. Ideas don't get funded, right? Idea has zero value. It's absolutely an execution game. Yeah. After mentoring and investing for more than a decade now, and also having seen some outcome, I have my own mentoring and investment thesis, right? Some of my mentee and portfolio startups are selected in Shark Tank, and it's really satisfying to see them on national television, right? And so now that I've seen some of my thesis working, I have a stronger theory on this, right? So I look for founder market fitment, right? My criteria revolves around founders and how large the market size is, how big the problem the founders are trying to solve, how big the TAM is, right? But largely a founders play, guys. So I bet on the founders and the team. So my taking capability is too high. I feel the founder and I go all in, right? And then largely focus on the growth and scalability story to make sure they are funding ready. So primarily be with them throughout the journey, especially during the hard times.
So, sir, according to you, what's the next big wave or industry to invest in?
Well, there is no secret sauce, right? Uh, but let's understand the history before this, right? Um, I believe the first millionaires came from the oil and gas industry, right? The second came from dot-com era, 1999, 2000, with the boom of e-commerce and Amazon. The third set of millionaires came from the crypto world, very briefly though. And I believe the next wave, the fourth wave, would be primarily from space tech and EV space, right? I'm absolutely excited about the space tech industry. There are many Indian kind of SpaceX already flourishing and getting funded, right? Another interesting space I see is in the Web3 and blockchain space and the creators economy space. Very massive opportunity to leverage. See, you got to understand, right, how the times are changing. It took Hilton 50 years to be $1 billion industry. And look at Airbnb. It became a unicorn in 3 years. Right? WhatsApp did in less than 2 years. Angry Birds took less than 18 months. And Mensa, e-commerce roll up, right, took less than 6 months to become a unicorn. So speed today is key, right? Speed of execution. Um, Also, if you see earlier, 5 to 6 years back, you had to consistently make videos to make it big and get more followers and excite the algorithm. Today, your first video can fetch you 10 million views and become viral. So the pace is so different today. You have to leverage the situation. Um, the folks who write the algorithm today in social media like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube actually control the world.
So, sir, what's your personal ambition and what advice would you like to impart to the students listening?
See, when you buy milk, right, first you check for expiry date. So his advice, right, it has an expiry date. Um, Life has no playbook. You learn as you go. Before I give you advice, right? Let me first tell you some of my regrets. Right? I missed the bus to start up during college time. I didn't leverage the college time for sure to build something. Right? Having said that, I would say first to be successful, you have to study failure. Uh, but early success is a curse too, because if you lose, you go back to the gym, right? Make an effort and try harder and come back. But if you win early, you tone down, you become complacent. So I would say start up anything during 3 or 4 years of college time, fail at it, learn from it. Then you don't uh, learn to be disappointed early on, right? You will also learn team dynamics, a lot of things to learn during college time. Secondly, dream, right? Always dream big because it doesn't cost anything. Dreams die in the comfort zone, right? Very few know that I do a lot of stand-up comedy, loads of open mic uh, in every country that I travel, right? I'm really bad at it, guys, but I still do it for the same reason because I'm always a curious student, right? And so just don't dream, but take action. Win or lose, it's okay. You miss all the shots you don't take, right? Third, I would say learn to be a good storyteller. Learn to sell, and have the guts to express your ambition in a way that people should pay to listen to you. Yeah. And finally, build trust, credibility, and reputation. Build it patiently, because every overnight success is a 10-year story, buddy.
Definitely, sir. And with this, I would like to thank you, sir, for taking time out of your busy schedule. I hope our listeners got some insights from your journey.
Wow, I really enjoyed the podcast and the conversation. Thanks for listening to me. Hope the students got some value out of this. Happy to be connected via social media. Cheers.
And I would like to say a thank you to our listeners as well. And stay tuned for the next episode of On Air with Adcom.